Yo, what is up guys? Ethan here back with another video, and today we return with college football predictions. As today we'll be talking about the Oklahoma State Cowboys. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Last season, Oklahoma State shocked the college football world as they were inches short from the college football playoff, but they lost a lot of key players after having a top 10 defense. Also, the defensive coordinator and Jim Knowles decided to go over to Ohio State. So can Oklahoma State regain their success of last season? They could, but I think it's going to be a lot more tougher for this upcoming season. As we look at this offense, you lose your starting quarterback in Jaylen Warren as he's now at the NFL. You do return your starting quarterback in Spencer Sanders though, so that is a huge thing for this Oklahoma State offense. I'm not that much of a big fan of Spencer Sanders, but his impact to this team is crazy. And if he isn't playing good, overall this offense isn't playing good. And if that doesn't work, this is probably a loss. But he's really good when he's consistent, but he can be inconsistent at some times, and that's killer to this offense. That's why they have that running game in Jaylen Warren, but without Jaylen Warren, it's going to be really intriguing to see what this rushing game is. Dominic Richardson does return for his junior year after being the backup to Warren last year, and he was really good. You also have DeAndre Jackson transferring in from Texas A&M, so that's a really big and much needed pickup for this team. I could even see like if true freshman Ollie Gordon getting some playing time this freshman year as well. But this rushing game is probably not going to be as leaned on as much. And with this wide receiver core, you have tons of depth with this team. Brennan Presley is probably your number one wide receiver, but due to his size, he can't be on the outside as he's mainly put into the slot position. But yeah, Brandon Johnson, Rashad Owens, Jaden Bray, Bryson Green. You also have a true freshman in Talon Stretton. He could also have a day one impact as well. This offensive line is pretty good for the Big 12 standards, but this offense, I'm not sure if it's going to be better or worse because you did lose some guys, but you do bring in some guys that were important to that team last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this offense is for this upcoming season. And even though with this defense, and it's a massive loss with Jim Knowles, this defensive line is vicious. A true freshman and Colin Oliver had 11.5 sacks last year. He broke out as a true freshman. I'm really intrigued to see how he is. And if another good year like that, he could be a potential top 5 edge rusher in all of college football for his junior season. But for this sophomore year, I'm only expecting good things from him. Tyler Lacey, a defensive end, he's back, he's going to be good. And just looking at the rest of this defensive line, it's experience. Brandon Edwards, Brock Martin, and Sion Asi, all experienced guys. All of them are seniors, and then you have a superstar in Colin Oliver as a sophomore. That defensive line is absolutely crazy, and it's probably the best part about this Oklahoma State team. You did lose your top tackle leader in Malcolm Rodriguez. You do get a transfer in Xavier Benson to fill in his spot. I don't think he's going to be able to fill it in as good as Rodriguez was, but we'll see. And then with this secondary, this is probably the most hit thing about this team. Your top student, Tanner McAllister, he's out. He's transferred to Ohio State. Jarek Bernard-Converse, he's out. He transferred to LSU. And everyone else that was there that was key, they basically just declared for the NFL draft. This secondary was hurt so bad, I would be astonished if this defense was able to be as good, or the secondary would be as good as it was last year. There's really no key guy in the secondary, maybe Jabbar Muhammad and Corey Black, but it's really going to be hard to replace that secondary. Colby Harvey-Opio was a huge piece for Oklahoma State for so many years. The loss of him was really big. Overall, besides that defensive line, who I have no worries about, I have massive question marks with the remainder of this defense, and a different scheme. It's going to be intriguing to see how this defense performs. And now as we head into this season, you have it's always tough to play in the Big 12, it seems like. I was going to say we're not going to talk about that first game versus Central Michigan, but we know what they did 10 years back. But Central Michigan probably going to be one of the top MAC teams for this upcoming season. Lou Nichols is an absolute beast, but I think that Oklahoma State defensive line is just going to be able to stop Lou Nichols all day long. Cowboys win that game at home. Next game, you host Arizona State. Arizona State's going to be one of the worst teams in the Pac-12 this upcoming season, in my opinion. Emory Jones may cause some trouble for a little bit, but I think Oklahoma State has just too much talent to lose to this team at home. Cowboys win this game. And then right before you get into a very early bye week, you will be University of Arkansas Pine Bluff to start out 3-0. Then after the bye, you have to go down to Waco and play Baylor. And this is a rematch of the Big 12 championship game of last year. And this is a 50-50 game in my opinion. But I have to go Baylor since they are the home team in this case. I do think their defense is going to step up. This could be a lot more low scoring than people anticipate, but the Bears win this game at home. Next game, you host Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is going to cause havoc in the Big 12 in my opinion this year. If you didn't watch my Baylor video, I have Texas Tech actually beating the Bears at home, but I think Oklahoma State will beat the Red Raiders at home in this case. Don't be surprised if this is a little bit closer in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Joey McGuire, but the Cowboys will win this game at home. Next game, you're at TCU, and as you will find out throughout these Big 12 predictions, I'm not that big a fan of this TCU team. I don't think Sonny Dykes is going to be able to be as successful, at least day one, at this TCU team. I think Oklahoma will go down to Fort Worth and win this road game. Next game, you host Texas. And personally, I think this is just a bad matchup, as I think Texas will go into Stillwater and defeat the Cowboys at home. This is homecoming, but I think this is just a really good matchup for Texas. The weakest point of this team is that linebacker core and that secondary. Not only does Texas have the wide receiver core, they have a deep running back room, and by this point, I think all the running backs would be healthy, and I just think this is just a bad matchup for Oklahoma State. I think Texas will go on the road and win this game. Next game, you have to go up to Manhattan and play Kansas State, and I think this is another loss for Oklahoma State. I'm a big fan of Kansas State for this upcoming season. I think Kansas State's defense will be able to slow down this offense, and I think Deuce Vaughn is just going to wreak havoc with this team with his receiving abilities. And I do think that passing offense for Kansas State is a little underrated with this team. They're going to be able to sling the ball downfield. And don't be surprised if the Wildcats pull away in this one. I have the Wildcats defeating Oklahoma on the road. Oklahoma stays in state next week at Kansas. And this could be a little stumble. Oklahoma's on a back-to-back losing streak. Do not be surprised if Oklahoma State loses this game at Kansas. Kansas is much better than people anticipate. I think this is going to be a lot closer than people anticipate, but personally, I think Oklahoma State just has overall too much talent. Oklahoma will win this game on the road. Next game, you host Iowa State. Iowa State just really doesn't have that much experience, and I think Oklahoma State has more talent. And also, the coaching battle, even though you may have to give an argument between Matt Campbell and Mike Gundy, with the second back coaches on the staff, Oklahoma State has the better staff. Oklahoma State will win this game at home. Your final road game of the season is the Bedlam rivalry, as you have to go to Oklahoma. And I think Oklahoma is going to be furious about the result last year. Not only would I have Oklahoma winning this game in Stillwater, this game's in Norman. I think Oklahoma is going to beat the Sooners in this one. I think Brent Venables' defense is going to be able to stop this offense. And overall, I think Dylan Gabriel and Marvin Mims are going to be able to dominate against this Cowboys defense. Sooners win this game at home. And to end the season, you host the West Virginia. And this is going to be a close game. This is a 50-50 game in my opinion. And as you know with this channel, if it's a 50-50 game, I always give the nod to the home team. Oklahoma State is the home team in this case. And I have Oklahoma State winning this game. So to end the regular season, I have Oklahoma State going 8-4 with losses at Baylor, home versus Texas, at Kansas State, and at Oklahoma. The ceiling for this team, in my opinion, is 10-2. I think 100% you'd lose at Baylor and Oklahoma, in my opinion, and then you would just beat Kansas State on the road and then Texas at home. Now, the floor for this team, in my opinion, 7-5. I don't think Mike Gundy is that bad of a coach to make this team go 6-6. The loss probably would be at TCU or at Kansas. I don't see you losing at home versus Texas Tech, Iowa State. Maybe it's West Virginia. I don't know. Floor for this team is 7-5. The ceiling is 10-2. My prediction is 8-4. What is your prediction for Oklahoma State for this upcoming season? Like always, like, share, subscribe, push notifications on so you don't miss any of my videos. And like always, have a good day. Peace out.